Anyway, that's a hilarious way to start this edition of Yaponomics. All right, I shall. Get out of here, you mathematical genius. Nick has enlightened me to the fact that he has started drinking caffeinated beverages, and the fact that he chooses mockers is weighing heavily on my brain. There are a few correct options when choosing caffeine. Drinks like this, I'm not sold on. Obviously, a mate of mine, James, has Newtonic. I'm yet to try it. I will try it eventually. It's you can't even get it in Australia just yet because the TGA are a bunch of fucking criminals. But coffee is like obviously the best option, except if you choose to pair it with any sort of syrup, almond milk, soy milk. The one nut milk, which should deter you from drinking it anyway, it's literally called nut milk. If you want that inside of you, okay, fair enough, but don't tell me you're straight. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just don't pretend, all right? Macadamia actually tastes the best, and it legitimately is like just macadamias and water and no filler bullshit like they put in the soy and the almond milk. But it's pretty much like full cream, either latte or cap, and that's about it. If you're going to do the milk version, if you're not going to do the milk version, double espresso, maybe a piccolo, maybe a macchiato. They're all like relatively the same thing anyway. I think piccolo in Italian means small. Yeah, it does, because we had an Italian guy visiting the gym, and we'll say, "How do you say small penis?" And he said piccolo penne. And he also enlightened us to the fact that penne means penis, and penne with a long. I'm pretty sure it's a longer. Is it incantation on the second N is the pasta. Like everybody knows the pasta, penne pasta. But if it's a short N, I'm pretty sure it's that way around. Maybe it's the other way around, but that way and then the other way. But it's very close. It's very similar. I'm trying to think if there's an English. Wow, fucking stuttered saying English. Good England. If there's an English equivalent of something that is naughty and then something that is fairly benign, I can't really think of anything. I know we fuck it up and with the there, and there, and that must be absolute chaos to learn as a foreigner. And it should be said, actually, that it's commendable all of the people that move to English speaking countries that learn English. It's commendable that they do as well as they do with how ridiculous the language is. I've been told by several people that Arabic is much harder to learn, obviously, if you're not from an Arabic speaking country. But English is pretty difficult. As far as my old barber was Iraqi, he could speak Egyptian Arabic, regular Arabic, Turkish, Assyrian, and then he could also speak English pretty well from work in the chair. And I think he had one other dialect that he was somewhat fluent in. Can't exactly remember, but he said by far and away, like, Arabic was easy for him because obviously he comes from an Arabic speaking country, but then he said English was fucking absolute nightmare. But anyway, they are the correct choices for caffeinated beverages. I also brought this up in a video that I filmed the other day for YouTube, I think. One of my jiu-jitsu ones. And top 3 desserts, in my humble opinion. New York baked cheesecake. It doesn't have to be from New York, but the way that they do it is superior. Baked cheesecake is just unreal. I like it slightly better than a Basque cheesecake for the texture. The Basque cheesecake is very creamy, very souffle-like. And it's nice, but I don't know, it's not as good as the bite of a baked cheesecake, especially with the crumb base. It just, man, excellent. Sticky date pudding, number 2. Pretty hard to go past a butterscotch sauce sticky date pudding. They're very good. Very, very good. And for me personally, probably not a fan favorite for most people, but some sort of lemon pie, lemon tart, like real citrusy, makes your mouth salivate when you think about it. I don't like meringue, so I'm remiss to say lemon meringue pie because I don't really like meringue. I don't like marshmallow either. Everybody seems to be perplexed when I say that, but yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't know why. It just doesn't suit me very well. But yeah, anyway, so they are the correct coffee choices, and they're the three best desserts, in my opinion. You're welcome to disagree. You're welcome to be incorrect, but they're the top ones. And I was just talking to Nick about something beforehand. And I think it's important to bring up that there are a myriad of situations in your life where somebody is going to accuse you of something, and it's very important to recognize that the reverse card psychologically, or this reverse card psychologically, is very powerful. And essentially what people are doing when they accuse you of being some type of way is what they're actually doing is confessing. So the saying is every accusation is a confession, because you can only see what you choose to see, or usually it's you see that which you are and then impose that onto the world. So if you deem yourself as an unlucky person, you think the world's an unlucky place. If you deem yourself as a lucky person, you'll see the world as a lucky place. If you think that the world is a horrible place, you've probably been around a bunch of horrible people, or you tend to be a horrible person. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a choice that you make based on your perspective. And I really like the saying that every accusation is a confession, because, you get these dorks on the internet and they comment underneath somebody like Tom Brady or an A-list actor or something like that. And they go, you're a loser, like your last game was shit, your last movie was shit. And they're literally sitting on the lounge with fucking Cheeto dust on their fingers, just spewing hate from their thumbs on a screen. And you know that person isn't a loser because they've achieved more in a week than you have in your entire life. If you are one of these people, you're probably not when you listen to this show. Listeners to this show are G's, not fucking losers on the internet. Or maybe the odd loser does find this show. I don't know. I don't know who's listening to this fucking dribble anyway, but I could say with a fair amount of certainty there's nobody here that is actively trying to fucking disparage other people's life, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to the shit that I say, because it's not like that. It's not inclined like that. And I find it so interesting because that caricature of a situation really embodies it quite well. And it's always the people that are like, oh, you're a racist. Like they're like those fucking white liberal Karens. They're the ones that are the biggest closeted racists. They're just being inauthentic about it, and they're just confessing essentially by accusing you. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I was talking to Nick about that. He found that particularly interesting, so I decided to bring it up with you guys. And I think if you have that in the back of your mind, you just don't take things as seriously anymore. And I also like to pair this with, don't take any advice off anybody who isn't where you want to be. So you wouldn't take financial advice off a homeless person, right? It's stupid. You wouldn't take diet advice off a big fatty bloody blubberknot. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't take diet advice off a heffalump. And it's always those ones, those ones in your family. They're maybe like an auntie that was married in, or they're like a cousin or some shit, and they almost broke the chair sitting down at the dining table, and they're just like, oh, like if you want to lose weight, you should just do keto. And you're like, huh? Are you really dropping? You should be dropping weight, but are you really dropping diet advice at the table with a fucking 40 BMI? It's very funny, but they're going to give you their advice and their perspective no matter where they are in their life, because people want to feel important. They want to feel validated by the fact that they have something important to say, and most people just don't. And it's unfortunately, I think, because we just live in this parody of existence where nothing's just really going on. There's no particularly enlightening thought leaders at the moment that are really pushing society forwards. There's no like common narratives that we're all striving for. Like, even if you look back in the US history, in the 1960s, it was all about like beating Russia and going to the moon and fucking freedom and guns and all that sort of stuff. There was like a core unifying theme and narrative and ideology that people were bound in together, where they were willing to drop their differences between themselves and band together and just aim at something. And I'm not saying that that particular cause is good or anything like that. I'm just saying that specifically here in Australia, maybe this is just unique to Australia. I guarantee that it isn't, because all of the Western nations are in lockstep destruction with each other at the moment. But there's just no theme or cultural identity where something is really important to strive towards. And you look at it in terms of architecture around the world, especially in Western nations, not in the East or not even in Europe, where they have these unbelievable cathedrals and these monuments to 1,000-year-old stories. You walk in them. I've not been there, but I've seen many videos on them. You walk in there, you're like, oh, wow. This wasn't just built to fulfill a purpose in terms of shelter or in terms of office space, like many of the buildings that are today. They're eyesores, to be completely honest. They're fucking horrid to look at. You walk into some of these cathedrals, these Gothic-style cathedrals, and you're like, wow, this was built with the effort of the whole town of hundreds of people over hundreds of years. Some people building these things would not have even seen its completion. They would have started on it as like a stonemason back in the 15th century, and it wouldn't have been completed until after they were dead. And maybe their son picked up their role. The Japanese do this very well, where they have this culture of mastery. Unfortunately, you start to recognize that it's actually sublimated underneath this culture of never being good enough, and that they have to approximate perfection, which also doesn't exist. And then that creates this big, messy psychological trap. But some of them escape that, where they try and get towards perfection as much as they can, really make a good dent in it. And they have trades that are 30 years. And they still get to a stage where they're like, that's not good, it's not good enough. It needs to be better. 1% better every day. It's very admirable, that mindset. Because I think a lot of people today's day and age that are like my age or younger, 10 years younger, within that span, don't do anything for like more than 30 seconds. And if it doesn't give it an immediate dopaminergic, I always butcher that word, dopaminergic response, you don't get the carrot immediately, then it's off to the next place where you might be lucky to find a carrot. And then therefore, you never really gain any depth to anything, and it feels like you're just sprinting through a tunnel perpetually, and you're not really ever getting anywhere. It's just... And I think that's why culturally today, going back to the earlier talking point, well, we just have no unifying theme or identity, and you've got all these things that are happening globally. It feels like you've just been uprooted. I guess this was a really interesting point that I came across before we get into the main talking points of the episode. 100 years ago, you could go to any nation on earth and it would be completely different to where you'd just come from. Like if you were an American, even going to England, completely different attire, language, cultural identity, architecture, themes, habits, all of those things were different. And that's a very similar comparison from country to country. Then you'd go to places like Kazakhstan and completely different. And then you go to the Philippines, completely different. Then you'd go to Sweden, completely different. And even if the people looked similar to you and you know, they were the same color, whatever, there would just be so many different customs and so many different things. And it's incredible to think about how quickly that has changed. Now everybody wears t-shirts and jeans. Everyone. Across the globe. Very rarely do you find people in traditional garbs or outfits or off phones or perpetuating the same habits and behaviors and customs. Now, like, I'm sure when you go to the UK, it's one of those things where they don't open their cafes until 9 a.m. and then you're just sitting here from Sydney, you're like, motherfucker, I was ready to be caffeinated about 3 hours ago. But aside from very menial differences there, you go to Japan and there's all of very similar restaurants all over the place. And you go into some of the different suburbs, and obviously Japan is a good example of someone who's maintained their cultural homogeneity. And you go into some of the weird suburbs like I did with my missus when I went to go train with some guys in Japan, and we're in the back arse of nowhere in some town just probably like 35 minutes east of Tokyo. And we went into a restaurant because it was just the only one we could find by happenstance. And the lady didn't even speak English. We didn't expect her to speak English. And we kind of had to like point at the menu. And then one of the ladies that was sitting next to us, it was really beautiful. She had turned to us and said, oh, like, I can translate for you if you like. And we're like, oh, thank you so much. And it wasn't even just like, oh, these stupid fucking Westerners, like, oh, where are you from? And like, why, like, how did you find yourself in this particular restaurant? And they were perplexed by the fact that we'd found this place because they don't get visitors very often in the particular part of town where we were. It's not very tourist heavy attraction. And I'd spoken about like training for, we'd just come back from trials from Thailand and come over to Japan because he wanted to go visit. It's closer to that part of the world than when we're in Australia, and just an excuse to go see for Disneyland for my missus, to be completely honest. But it was one of the main reasons we wanted to go. We went and saw Mount Fuji and did these cool things, and drove a Ferrari through the tunnels of Tokyo City and went to a car meet. It was sick. Japan's sick. Definitely recommend that you go. And we're just talking about why we were there and those sorts of things. She was just infatuated with the story. And then we were asking her, like, what does she do in her day-to-day life? And how did she find this restaurant? She goes, oh, I've been coming here for like 10 years, blah, blah, blah. Really, really good. And the food was unreal. It was just like a set menu thing. It was fantastic. And really, really cool experience. But you don't find them very often anymore, especially when you're traveling. Even the Thai people, when you go to Thailand, they're wearing shirts and jeans, and they speak English, and it's very similar. It's very similar. There's this weird homogeneity over the globe now, and if you look back 150 years, it's extremely different. This interconnectedness, I think, has robbed us of many of the things that made us unique. And we tried to, that episode of SpongeBob where he like gets smoothed out and he just becomes normal, and he has no sharp edges and no holes anymore. He's lost all his like quirk. I think that's happening a lot. I think that the things that make us different are the things that make us interesting and unique. And they give us a sense of individuality, and for whatever reason, that isn't being prioritized anymore. You have to fit a certain mold and wear a certain thing and say certain things. And it's just fucking gross. I don't know. Interested to hear what you guys think. But I think that's something that's happening a fair bit. And obviously you can go into the replacement theory. If you know what you're talking about, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's interesting. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to change it. I don't know if there is any ability to change it. Obviously, you can repopulate as fast as you can, but there's a tidal wave of there's a tidal wave coming, and then you're not going to be able to do it as fast as the incumbents. And I don't think it's working for anybody, to be honest. I don't think it's working for anybody, even like the powers that be. I don't think it's working for them either. And I think it was Scott Galloway brought up a good point. It's like, if you're an oligarch, you don't want the gap between you and the normal people being too large, because then there's going to be no nice restaurants left. because everybody's going to be struggling to eat. And the employees of that restaurant will be within that group. And the resent will start to build extremely high to where it will be completely unsafe to be able to go to a restaurant of that nature, or there just simply won't be any people to work there. And so you don't want to win the game too much in terms of wealth disparity, because then there is no point. You can very easily replace yourself by doing that as well. And you hear things about kings that become increasingly anxious that the staff are going to poison them because of this phenomenon. It's happened hundreds of times throughout history. And then the extreme paranoia that you must go into when you're a tyrannical ruler or an authoritative ruler, an authoritarian. There's a difference between the two, and there's a really good video. I don't listen to him anymore because of his obvious sponsorship regarding the Waterfall Tisk channel. And you know what I mean if you've been listening to that channel. There's a very heavy swing towards the favoritism and the supporting of a particular thing that is just blatantly obvious, and all of the research can now be discounted as a result of that. Because if you back this particular thing, you can't be well-minded. There's no excusing it whatsoever. And unfortunately, people can't see through the weeds and think that, if you're against one thing, you have to be for the other thing. No, I'm against both of them, actually. There's a third option, and it's just the fact that all of it's fuckery. All of it. I read a really interesting thing today. It's like none of these like catastrophes are ever random. None of the things that are going on right now are unscripted or unplanned. And that should tell you everything you need to know. So if you get swept up into the ideological narratives and the propagandistic mechanism of what's happening, then you just fall right into the trap, whether you're one way or the other, whether you think your team's right or you think your team's wrong. And if you allow it to consume you, then you're just subdued by the thing that they want you to be subdued by, whether you're left or right or red or blue or anything other. It's the Hegelian dialectic. If you haven't heard of that, I recommend looking into it. But anyway, I found a really, really good page on Instagram. And I've always been very curated with my following. I've never really tried to follow anybody that I either don't know personally as much as possible, or if I don't have anything in common with them in terms of like communication, like not frequent communication, but if I haven't spoken to them or anything like that, I usually won't bother. Or things that I deem incredibly interesting, or people that I deem incredibly interesting that I don't know. So like Frank Green, for example, is an entrepreneur out of Sydney. Never met him, don't know him, think he's fucking fascinating, follow. So there are exceptions to the rule, but the gross majority of the time, I try to keep it to people that I actually give a fuck about in terms of like I know them personally, and then also people that I find interesting as well. But this page, The Code of the West, is fantastic. And one of these posts I thought was particularly interesting. They've got a couple of bangers. I'll read a couple out, but it's kind of like this old-timey cowboy sort of old Western philosophy of life, where they're bringing back a lot of traditional things, but just a different flavor of looking at the world. And I think it's really good. I think it's really good. So freedom isn't a destination, it's a decision. Freedom isn't a reward. We act like it's something you have to earn. Like if you hustle hard enough, suffer long enough, someday you'll finally feel like you've made it. But personal freedom's not a prize at the end of the fight. It's the fuel for the start. It's the choice to face down that voice in your head that says, not yet, wait your turn. If you don't claim your own freedom, you might spend your whole life waiting on a signal that never comes, because no one's standing at the gate with a permission slip. You've got to trust that your own hands, your own heart, your own conviction are enough. And I know that it's not easy, trust me. It's not neat or comfortable or safe because you've got to choose it before anyone's cheering you on. And if you fail, you only have yourself to blame. But when you finally claim it, when you quit waiting, quit hoping, and decide to stand and walk forward, it's in that first quiet step that something shifts. You realized you were never waiting for the world. You were waiting for the courage to remember you've been free to choose all along. Oh, it's good. It's very fucking good. And it's emblematic of a lot of the stuff that I talk about on this show. Is that if you're waiting for someone to come and get you, for you to live your dream, you're just going to be perpetually waiting and it's never going to happen. And it's actually a really poor way to think about chasing anything in your life. And again, spoke about this last week. You don't have to want what other people want. You have to want what you want. It doesn't have to be this caricatured version of supreme levels of achievement where you're buying $8 million cars. Like, most people couldn't give less of a fuck about that. That's just the way that it is. And most people, I think, just want to go back to where we were 1960s, 1950s. You have single income kids, 2 cars, house, reasonable debt to income ratio. And you could just really focus on the cool shit that you wanted to do. You had space and time and breadth to be able to pursue hobbies, whether you were whittling wood in the backyard or raising good children, growing food in your backyard, building shit, renovating, I don't know, tearing walls down in the house and chopping and changing and doing fun projects and whatever else. And I think a lot of people strive for that, for that sort of normalcy, where this financial cloak that exists over the top of most people just didn't, that thinly draped veil that exists over most people, where they just constantly have this gnat in the back of their mind. Yeah, but it's going to cost this much. You don't have the money for that. That's X hours at work. Or you can't do that because you've got electricity coming out next month. And this over-profitization of society that has just drained the character and the culture and the soul of everything. I read a good post the other day, and it was, I'd try and find it, but it's buried somewhere. It was like, what does it cost us? Focusing on like dollar figure, ROI, everything. And so that type of machine thinking takes in soul, courage, art, culture, poetry, playfulness, and churns out notes. Because think about it like this for a second. How many phenomenal artists, music, art, poetry, otherwise, philosophy, how many of those people have failed to exist since 2000 as a result of the necessitation of making enough money just to live? We think about Da Vinci, where he was paid a decent salary, I assume, only for the fact that he was a phenomenal artist and that they had hired him based on that, where everything else was pretty much taken care of. He could just do art. How many people are in a system that doesn't allow for such things unless you are autistic, maybe, at least in my case? How many people work a job where they are a warehouse worker or they're just putting boxes and shelves, or putting bricks up in houses, or laying grass, or something like that, where they know they've got some sort of inkling of a spark of a fire that is inside of them that wouldn't necessarily change the world, but change the way that they see the world, and then everybody around them will become better individuals as a result of it. How many of those people have been just fucking squashed because they had to pay for food that was too expensive? Fucking like $300 eggs, whatever the fuck they are now. I think about that a lot. How many people have just been fucking whacked because of that? Or didn't even try because of it? Weren't even willing to take the risk as a result of that. Like, you've got to be a pretty special individual in today's day and age to have the balls to go out on your own and do something that is unconventional, that people are going to judge you for, that is not obvious, that is not certain, and there's no well-trodden path out ahead of you, and you just do it anyway. You do. You actually have to be a special individual. And statistically speaking, that is a correct definition, because it's not the majority of people. And I'm not saying it should be the majority. There has to be people that do these jobs. There has to be people that build the roads. But some people just don't really have that spark internally. And then they weren't really that way inclined to being some sort of creative person that would have had an impact on the world, the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we write, the way that we perceive certain things in terms of artistic display. But some people do. And I don't think the way that this is currently being orchestrated, life, existence, society, is beneficial to those types of people, because they've got to overcome insurmountable things. Not insurmountable. This is a misspeak. They've got to overcome far more than what they used to. Let's put it that way. And it's even less doable than it was 50 years ago. Is what I'm trying to get at. And there was a really good quote from Rick Rubin. I'm listening to a bunch of his podcast episodes recently, and he's a fucking phenomenal character. Phenomenal character. And he was talking about this band that he was working with, and they said 10 years after they were like super duper famous, they said that it didn't occur to us until much later that it was just music, because of the cult-like following that they had developed. Was it Led Zeppelin? I don't remember which band it was. They were talking about a rock band in the 70s. And they said the way that it changed seemingly the fabric of the universe, and the way that people engaged with it, and the energetics. You watch these old Woodstock videos. Even the one that, was it Woodstock that DMX was at? There was a DMX concert where there's like 100,000 people in the crowd. And you see the energy coming from that. You're like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like that. It's absolutely awe-inspiring. And you think, you didn't even consider that it was just a song. Whereas today's day and age, you listen to music and you're like, oh, it's a song. Cool. Meh. We've pretty much all turned into that fucking little dork at high school that was like, yeah, whatever. I don't know if that's a rather bleak perspective, but I think it tracks. And I think, well, I don't think, I'm going to paraphrase something that I read recently. It's a guy on TikTok. I forget his name, but he writes essays and he talks about the biggest issue, it's rather dystopian, is with today's day and age. Like the wedge between the stuff that I'm talking about and where we're at now is the camera. And when you think about it properly, it's a fucking phenomenal take. And this guy is very intelligent. And the way that he articulates his points is very, very good. And he says that the issue with today's day and age is the camera. It's not the screen, it's the camera. And it's when you go to a music festival and you look at all these people like dorks with their phone out like this, filming what's going on, therefore not paying attention to what is actually going on, to distract themselves with the act of capturing what's happening, which you can't do. You can't capture a moment. Never going to be as good as what it is right fucking now. Only so that you could never watch that video again. But then you're ruining the point of going to something that would... You're ruining the point of going to the thing by attempting to do a very shit job at capturing the thing so you could watch it in a shit state later. I watched a video the other day. It was talking about stop reaching for your phone when your kid does something cool. Just be there with them. Because you'll have a video of your kid doing something cool, but you are preoccupying yourself with the documentation of what is going on rather than actually being there with what is going on. And Rick Rubin was talking about this. He talks about taste in terms of what he thinks is cool. And a big problem with today's society, especially in the younger generation, is what they think is cool is what is most liked. What has the most amount of views. What gets the most shares, the most comments. And I've fallen into this trap as a content creator as well. And you start to like... What's the word I'm trying to look for? You start to veer towards what you think will be liked, which is very dangerous. And I check myself on it constantly. I try and choose ideas that I think will resonate. And I'm trying my best to not get swept up in the whole idea of like, this will be liked or this will be the most viewed. Because if it gets 5,000 views and it deeply impacts 50 people, or it gets 500,000 views and it deeply impacts nobody, 5,000 views is 10 times better. 50 times better, actually, in that example, because it's 50 to 0. And I think getting back to that, not doing things so that you can fucking post it on social media, so that you can capture it. And I was in two minds about this as well. Went out and bought a car recently. It was a dream car of mine, my second dream car that I've bought before I was 30. Even just saying that sounds fucking crazy to me 5 years ago. Sounds crazy to me 5 years ago. It genuinely does. 5 years ago, I wasn't even driving because I had lost my license because driving like an absolute fucking spastic, didn't respect the rules. Still don't. But I'm a little bit better now. I have a larger, well, I have a smaller disdain for authority than I at current times than I did when I was 18, 19. Working on it. It's a work in progress. It'll never go away. It'll never go away. But it's crazy to even say that sentence. And then I thought about it and I'm like, I don't even want to post it. Because it's not for anybody else. And if I necessitated that, then it is for other people. And then I'm living a life of fucking fakery. Fugazi. And it's a fine balancing act. I was talking to a mate of mine yesterday about it, Manny, and he was like, I didn't get mine for anybody else. I got it for me. I was like, fuck, that's such a cool idea. It's a fantastic way to look at things. Because you should be doing things because you like it. You should be buying shit because you like it, not because other people will think you're cool. Or not because other people will think that you're somebody or you're fucking important. Like, you're a human with agency. You're already fucking important. As long as you recognize that, you are. It's like bare minimum. You have the capacity to create shit out of your brain. It's pretty fucking important. It's very important, actually. And so to think that you have to like look a certain way or be a certain way, or this is what I'm getting at with the culture thing and the homogeneity of it all. Like we're just turning into fucking round SpongeBobs where everybody has to be the same and look the same and everybody's got to be equal. No, fuck that. Fuck equality. Not equal opportunity. Big distinction. But fuck equality. I don't want to be equal with everybody else because then that dims what they are special within and as to me. The same relationship. The reason we're fucking interesting is because we're different. You see the world in a completely different way, the way I see it. Great. Let's talk about it. Let's joust ideas in a playful way where you say, actually, I don't see it that way. Okay, please, by all means, tell me how you see it. And not in an argumentative fucking butthurt bullshit way. Just be like, what do you think? And then we can come to not even an agreement, because who gives a fuck about agreeing? You just see it this way, and I had never considered that before. Brilliant. Like, one of the biggest reasons I chose my partner to actually date, aside from being attractive, is that she fucking tells me things that I didn't consider. A lot. And she goes, no, it's this way. And I'm like, wow, I actually didn't think about that. That had not crossed my mind. Genuinely. There you go. And we don't fight about it. Sometimes we bicker and we fucking argue. Everybody does. If you have a perfect relationship, you have a shit relationship, by the way. If you never argue with your partner, something's up. You're going to have disagreements. It's okay. It's normal. It's fine. What you do about them is where the disconnect comes. But I found that fascinating on multiple different occasions. She was just like, no, it's this way. And I'm like, I had not considered that. And it's great to have those people around you. Especially when you like largely march to the beat of your own drum and do whatever the fuck you want all the time. And that means that there's a lot of people that are like cucks to that, where they're like, yeah, you're right all the time. And I was talking to my mate Rob. He's helping me rehab some stuff at the moment. And he goes, I know why you like hanging out with me. And I'm like, all right, Robert, tell me. He goes, because I don't bullshit you. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much 100% correct. And he goes, because you're just Josh to me. Like, this is not something fucking special. This is this era of mystique bullshit. And it's just, it comes with the territory. Don't get me wrong. I'm fucking well used to it by now. But some people do treat you strange when you've got a fucking Instagram following that means literally nothing. Or you're that guy from the videos. It's very weird. Very weird. And they try and get something from you. Sometimes. Most people are pretty cool. Like, you meet them in person, it's actually a fucking really cool experience that you meet somebody you've never met before and they're like, bro, I got into training because of you. Like, I had a guy, Michael, this morning tell me about that. He's like, dude, because of your videos, I signed up to a jiu-jitsu gym and I like, it was the perfect synthesis between educational and humorous, and like I'm taking a step in the right direction because of your videos. And I'm like, dude, fucking sick. Fucking sick. More of that. The best. And it's not like I sit there and like really soak that in most of the time, which I probably should do a better job at, but it's fucking cool to hear that. It really is, because I know how deeply impactful training has been for me, especially in a combat sport, and also to a larger extent for the majority of my life, weightlifting as well, because I've been doing that as many years as I haven't. I started at 14, I'm 28 now, and it's 50-50. Oh, and next year I will have been lifting weights more than I had not been lifting weights, which is cool to think about. Yeah, cool to think about. But people that come into your life as a result of that, and they've changed their behaviors and they've done something radical and gone out and tried something they never would have tried just because you had yelled words at a camera. That's pretty fucking cool. But then there's people that just like, I don't know, you think that they're trying to get something from you. And it's just this weird gleam on the interaction. But then Rob doesn't do that. And that is one of the main reasons that I do enjoy being around him. He's just a good guy. But then he also like brings stuff like that to light. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, Correct. I do fucking like you because of that. And this is why it's so important to have people that are around you that you have had. Like, I've only known Rob for 6, 7 years now. My longest standing friend of 23 years, another Josh, great fucking guy. We're not like in contact all the time, but we kind of had like this. We fucking hated each other when we were kids. We'd always fight. And our parents were like friends for some bullshit reason. And he was telling me this the other day. We're at my sister's engagement party, and he was saying that he got told by his mum that I was coming over. And he's like, what the fuck? I hate that kid. We were like 6. And we ended up being like pretty decent friends. Then I moved schools and I didn't see him for ages. And then lo and behold, he actually became really good friends with my sister. And they've stayed really good mates because her partner now, Elijah, has been good mates with Josh for years and years and years. They went to the same high school together. And he's the same. He's the same. And then my second longest lasting friend, my best mate, Zach, who I've been best mates with since we hated each other too. We fucking hated each other when we first started talking to each other. It was kind of like he describes it and I describe it the same, that we were like 2 gorillas in the enclosure just fighting over the last banana. And it literally was the banana. He fucking slapped the banana out of my hand and we threw punches at each other. I don't think anyone landed, but it was just those stupid like jersey grab punches at school. And then we kind of looked at each other and just realized that we were more similar than we were different, and that we should drop the bullshit because it's just unnecessary. And that's 15 years now, I think. Yeah, 13, year 7. Yeah, 15 years. And he's the exact same too. And Marco, my other best mate, who we were together at school, same thing. Hasn't changed a fucking lick at all. And it's so important to have these people around you. So important. Because they'll check you if you change. And that's what you want. You want that. Because you're like, you start rocking up in a different shirt and you think you're more important than you are, and your fucking mates, just like your genuine mates, they just cut the fuck out of you. Like, what are you doing with that shirt, you dickhead? You need those people. And I think that's why I wholeheartedly reject the opposite of that, where they're like, oh yeah, that's so sick. Like, you know, in the movies where you see the main the protagonist is being picked on by the antagonist, and it's always this like colloquial fucking bully with the dickhead kids behind him, like, yeah, get him. You're like, yeah. And then they fucking shiny shoes or whatever. It's like the Nelson Muntz and the other 2 characters. They're like just the underlings that hang around. They're like, yeah, you're right, Nelson. Like, get him. It's always those types of people. And you just don't have to be like that. Be your own unique character. Be someone worthy of being your own unique character. Like, do shit you like. Rick Rubin had a fucking great quote. And he was like, not a single note of any single song has been in the underneath the guise of, I think people might like that. He goes, when I create something, I hope people like it, but I will never change it so that they like it more. Because then it's fake and then it's shit. And he said, I look at it as simply as like his whole guiding creation philosophy can be very neatly summed up in one quote. And he was saying, I think about the creative process as 2 meals. You have one meal and you have the other. You decide which one you like. You go with that one. That's it. There's no like, what's the reaction from this going to be? What's the result of this going to be? What am I going to get out of this? And this is very hard to stick to. Very hard to stick to. Especially in today's day and age. We're talking about just beforehand, where I think people have to overcome a lot more just to exist currently than they had previously in the past century or 2. But choosing things that you want to do because you like them, akin to that of choosing one meal over the other. Like, you just like the way this tastes better than you like the way that tastes. I like lemon tart without meringue. So meringue's just not for me. So I just won't do it. That's it. It's not because, oh, you know, like I should eat meringue because it's profitable and it's cheaper and it's going to give me an ROI and a 10% gain. Fucking this. Fuck that. Yuck. Like, if you paid me to eat broccoli, I still wouldn't fucking eat it. Fuck broccoli. Disgusting. Tuh. Hate it. The worst. Don't know why. Just don't like it. So stay away from it. I also really hated and had the same disdain for regular jobs. Even Rob's receptionist, I was talking to him, and he goes, Rob was telling me like some fucking big time jiu-jitsu athlete. I'm like, yeah, you could say it that way. You could just call me Josh. But yeah, I'm just a fucking dude who likes doing ground karate. That's about it. And he goes, oh, like, you do that full time? I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. And he's like, wow. Did you ever go to uni or anything like that? I was like, oh, sweetheart, no. No, I did not. He goes, did you ever have a regular job? I said, yeah, I had a regular job. Fucking had like 20 of them. Not 20, maybe 10. Somewhere between 5 and 10. I worked at a construction store. I was a barista. I worked at a nutrition place, like a supplement place. I worked at a boot camp place, like F45. I worked at a gym. I did timber floor laying. I worked at, I was a bartender. I was a security guard. I'm just trying to think. I've done laboring. That was fucking miserable. And what else did I do? Is there something else? I can't remember. But yeah, I was right. Between the neighborhood of 5 and 10 jobs. And he was like, oh, so you actually did a lot before you did your thing now. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to fucking be a jiu-jitsu athlete. It was a snowballing effect. I did it. I really fucking enjoyed it. And then over time, about 12 months in, I decided that it was the only thing that I really wanted to do anymore. And I fucked off everything else. This is pretty much it. It's how you make anything work in your life. But I think the real key to that is that you just don't know until you do it. And that's what that Code of the West post is really talking to. That you choose things by walking into them. Not by postulating, not by thinking, not by theorizing or hypothesizing. You choose it by doing. And me and Nick were talking about karma before this, and karma is not this esoteric cloud that hangs over your head for good deeds or bad deeds. It's been tallied up by some sort of all-knowing being of the universe. Karma is your doing. So my karma for lifting this can to my mouth is that I drink the drink. My karma for speaking words into this microphone while it's being recorded is that this episode will be posted. My karma for doing the right thing by my body and eating good food is that I have a good physique. My karma for doing the opposite of that is that I become fat. It's not some esoteric weighing down of generational past lifetime progressions or regressions or things that are beholden over you that you have no choice over. It's simply the action, the results of your actions, your doing. I think that's what it's translated to roughly. And so if you want freedoms, do things that generate freedom. If you want a certain type of lifestyle, do things that generate that certain type of lifestyle. You want to be a good person? Do actions that would be deemed good. It really comes down to that. It's pretty simple. This post really neatly goes into the other one. Some leftover food from lunch. Anyway, one day you'll run out of some days, so make sure today isn't wasted. I've seen folks put off what needed saying, waiting for the perfect time to start living different. And I've seen some of them never get that chance. Tomorrow's a mirage. It's not about fear, it's about clarity. Most folks live like they've got a ledger somewhere, tallying up all the tomorrows that they think they're owed. But there's no sunrise that's guaranteed. The only sure thing we've got is what's sitting across from us right now. It's about living like today matters, because it does. Because today is the only thing that we can know for sure, since it has already come to pass. If you're sitting somewhere wondering if today's the day to start walking the road you keep saying you'll get to, it is. Mirages vanish, but your next step, something solid that you can plant right now. You just have to choose to move, because one day you'll run out of some days. So make sure today isn't wasted. It's a really, really fucking good sentiment. Tomorrow is not promised. It really isn't. And you recognize this. And I didn't have a whinge about some sort of physical thing that's happening currently. It's giving me a lot of pain. But I was kind of like, fuck this. Why is this happening? And then you get over it really quickly with the way that I see the world. And it's like, oh, this is just the thing. This is the facts. This is what I got to do to get better. That's it. I got into the car this morning after breakfast, kind of leisurely. Oh, that's not quite the right word, but awkwardly, we'll say, with a little bit of pain, a little bit of tension. And I pull up to a set of lights, and there's a guy coming down from the train station with one of those boots on where you fuck your foot up, and a peg leg. Instantaneous getting the fuck over my thing. Instantaneous. I'm like, that dude's out here doing it with 10 times worse what I'm going through. Fucking good on him. And I think it's this like someday thing that doesn't exist, and it's tomorrow's never guaranteed. I think that sort of neatly links into the perspective of like, what is here right now is what is here right now. And you can compare it, or rather you can be reminded quite quickly that what you're going through currently is not really that bad. And it shouldn't stop you from taking a step today. Like your situation that you're going through, it's the worst thing that you've gone through. And it's not to diminish anybody's circumstances whatsoever. Because everybody, the hardest thing you've been through is the hardest thing you've been through. And no one can change that. Just because some kid in a Middle Eastern country right now has had his whole family blown up into bits and pieces in front of his eyes and he's the only one who survived, doesn't mean that what you're going through where your girlfriend broke up with you is now invalidated as a result of that. Because the hardest thing that you've gone through is the hardest thing that you've gone through. Don't try and like diminish the things that you've gone through as an experience just because somebody has it harder, because then you're just playing the game that nobody wins. You're like, I've got the most trauma. Yes, sick. Now what? What are you going to do about it? That's the next question every single time. But I think the universe will show you ways where, like this morning, your perspective can be shifted, and you could either sit there and feel sorry for yourself, or you could get acting, or you could sit there and say that my circumstances are too great to overcome, and then you could just get nothing done. Or you could sit there and go, tomorrow's not promised. I really have to take that into consideration. And if today was my last day, although grim and somewhat hyperbolic, if it was my last day, how would I like to spend it? Not in a hedonic way, not huffing drugs up your face like a fucking degenerate loser, because that's not what you actually want. It isn't. That's escapism. Everybody knows it. What would you actually want to do with your last day? You'd probably hug your fucking kids a little bit tighter. I would. When mine's here, absolutely. You probably genuinely mean it when I say love you and you leave to your parents or your partner or your kids or that sort of thing. Or you'd actually like sit and listen to somebody genuinely, or look in their fucking eyes when they speak to you. Or you just give up the frivolous bullshit of appearing as one type of person or one type of way. And, what is this going to do for my image? How good is this going to look on a resume? Like, fuck all of that. What's the ROI? Shut up. Nothing. How about that? How about there's nothing? There's no ROI. There is, obviously, but don't make your decisions leading with that as an indicator. Because then you'll just be doing shit you don't want to do to get a result you don't fucking want, to impress people you don't like, who don't give a fuck about you anyway. I've done it. Trust me, don't do it. It's fucking stupid. Maybe you have to do it to learn the lesson, but by all means, you'll learn that it's stupid soon enough. But yeah, Rick Rubin's thing of like literally the difference between him doing one thing and him doing another thing is just, does he like that dish more? And just continues down that path. And I think that's such a powerful concept. It's very difficult to grasp and very difficult to actualize. But if you can embody some of that, not doing it because your mate thinks it's cool or anything like that. Like if you just wanted to work on cars all day, that's your thing. That's your fucking thing. And because you just want to do it all day, there's no willpower. There's no motivation. You want to fucking do it, so do it. And that way you'll be better at it than anybody else, at least in your close circle or anything like that, because you're not aiming to be the best at it. You just do it because you fucking really like doing it. And then that's your superpower. That's your secret sauce, because you will be in like that flow state. You know when you're reading something and just hours pass, or you're just watching something, you're completely captivated within it, and then you just, holy fuck, it's like a couple of hours have gone by. Or you get into a really deep conversation. You're like, wow, it's midnight already. I can't believe that happened. That, whatever allows you to do that, whatever lets you get into that state, fucking triple down on that and fuck everything else off. Genuinely. I think that's what should be of the highest priority. Like if you just love making beats, just fucking do it. Like, yeah, sure, go to work, earn money, like pay for shit that you need, food, rent, water, whatever. But then every other waking hour, do that. And what will come of it will come of it. And if you never make it to, we'll use the music example. Like if you never make it to fucking Rihanna superstar status, you won't care. And that's why you'll get it. That's why people get things, because they don't give a fuck about the result of it. They just genuinely are captivated within it. And they'll do it enough to get good at it. And when they're good at it, they'll just continue doing it because they really fucking like doing it. That's when you go all in. That's when you're really about something. That's when you're like, this is the thing. Like a really good example, a mate of mine, Connor, who ended up training with me when I was younger, when I first started jiu-jitsu rather, and then he's now picked up Muay Thai, and he just goes, man, it feels like I'm remembering Muay Thai. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to learn it. It just goes, it feels natural to me. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, triple down on that. Don't have any reparations about fucking stopping jiu-jitsu. You tried it, you loved it, but not as much. Like it's a steak versus chicken example. Like, what do you like better? Fucking steak 10 out of 10 times for me. Somebody can't stand steak and they go chicken. Okay, fuck, go eat as much chicken as you want then. Make any difference to me. But it's cool when you see people that just figure it out, like what they want to do, because they just try, act. And they don't wait for tomorrow. They don't second guess themselves. They don't think about like, oh, poor me, because I fucking haven't found my thing. You haven't found your thing because you haven't tried enough. End of. I think it's a really cool thing to think about. And I think your life will be benefited greatly committing some thought to it. And that's that. Another episode of The Clapper. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm going to get some shit done. And, oh wow, sorry to bother you. I am Ahmad Azan, a stockbroker from eToro. I love these WhatsApp messages that come with a plus country code from the Philippines. They're always scams every single time. And, thanks for that, Ahmad. I don't need your help. Anyway, with that said, I'll see you in the next episode.